Good morning, students. Let's start, beta. If you remember, we were doing endocrine system. I'll be asking a few questions later. Once, let me take up a little more. Let me go ahead with what we were doing yesterday. But I will be asking some questions on what we did yesterday. Let me see if you people remember what we had done. And then we'll continue with this. Okay, let's join on time, children, please. It takes away so much of time like this. Please mute your audios. Yes, beta. Let's start now. Partial endocrine glands and pure endocrine glands I've already done before. Children, please mute your audio, whoever it is. Now, structure and functions of major endocrine glands we are going to start. It seems to be a little difficult, but it's not difficult. You try learning it with me here. Structure and functions of the major endocrine glands. The first one that we are going to do today is the hypothalamus. See, beta, in humans, the complete endocrine system works under the influence of one, and that is hypothalamus. So this is the main one. This is the leader. This is the boss. Who is it? Hypothalamus. The entire endocrine system works under the influence of hypothalamus only. There are so many glands in the entire system when we talk about the entire endocrine system. But remember that all of them, they work under the control, coordination, you can say guidance of which one? The hypothalamus. So the most important one is the hypothalamus. So we have to study a little more detail about this. If you remember yesterday, hypothalamus, what was the location, children? Where was it located?
Head. In the brain.
Brain.
In the head.
Yes, when I divided the body into three major parts externally, then I told you head. Head maybe, let's go and find out the exact location. Okay. It is located in the basal part of your forebrain, and it regulates a wide spectrum of functions in the body. What is the basal part of forebrain called? What is the forebrain part? What is it called? You can see on the screen. If you can see. Anybody please read out the word. How will you pronounce it?
Diencephalon.
Yes, first the pronunciation, children. I just want the pronunciation first, and then you will tell me the meaning. Something if you heard about this word earlier. Anybody?
Diencephalon, germ layer.
Beta, have you heard this word somewhere? Diencephalon, what is it? It's just a
Germ
part
layer.
of, yes, beta, it is a part of your forebrain. Is it okay? Remember this, it's enough for you that it is a part of your forebrain. You may not go into details of this, just remember that it's a part of your forebrain only. So it is located on the basal part of the forebrain, this much is enough, and it regulates a wide spectrum of functions in the body. Now let's come to the origin. It develops from the ectoderm of the embryo like other parts of the brain. Other parts of the brain also, they generally develop from which part of the embryo? Which part of the embryo, children? Ectoderm or endoderm? Yes, it's the ectoderm. It is not the endoderm. Very quickly tell me the location of the hypothalamus.
Basal part of forebrain.
In the basal part of
Part of
In the
forebrain.
basal
Please,
part of forebrain.
Peter, all of you, I'm saying speak out. Reason being, this part is little rote learning. जिसे हम हिंदी में बोलते हैं रटने वाला part. So you will not find a lot of interest when you're studying at home this chapter, because it's more of learning. It is less of conceptual. It's more of learning. So try that you speak out here only and learn with me here only. So the location of hypothalamus is
Basal part of forebrain.
Basal part of forebrain.
and it originates from which layer of the embryo?
Ectoderm.
Ectoderm.
Come to the structure. We have done the location, we have done the origin. Now let's come to the structure. This is made up of mainly nervous tissue. It's mainly made up of which kind of tissue? It is nervous tissue. It connects with the anterior lobe of the pituitary by the hypophyseal portal blood vessels, and to the posterior lobe of the pituitary by the axons of the neurons. I'll give you 1 minute to read, then I'll explain it to you. Don't worry, I'll show the working also. I'll be sharing a video with you maybe tomorrow. so that you can see exactly कि ये कहाँ पे होता है. Where is the anterior part of the lobe? Where is the posterior? First, I'll explain ताकि आपको easily you'll be able to understand. Please read the structure, all of you. Let me explain. Have you read, children? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Hypothalamus, it is mainly made up of which tissue?
Nervous tissues.
Nervous tissue.
Now, this hypothalamus is connected with both the parts of the pituitary, both the lobes of the pituitary. Which two lobes?
Anterior and posterior.
Posterior. Anterior and posterior.
So, please remember this, that this is mainly made up of nervous tissue, and this is connected with both the lobes of the pituitary. The first one, it is connected with anterior lobes of the pituitary by special kind of blood vessels. What is the name of the blood vessels you've just read?
Hypophyseal portal blood vessel.
Hypophyseal portal blood vessel.
What does this mean? What is hypophyseal part? What is this part, beta? Dekho beta, listen carefully. There is a part which is called hypothalamic part, or there is a system in our body which is known as hypophyseal system. Hypophyseal portal system. In our body, we have a system. That system is known as hypophyseal portal system. Basically, this is the system which conducts, or you can say, which connects the brain to the anterior of the pituitary. Clear, everybody? Listen again. This hypophyseal system basically connects what? It connects the brain to the anterior pituitary. It is made up of two capillaries, basically. Okay. This you will study in detail later in senior classes. Basically, we have capillaries which are going to connect what? They will connect your brain to the anterior pituitary. Okay, bacha? Brain is what? Hypothalamus. So this hypothalamus is connected to the anterior pituitary by special kind of capillaries, vessels. Which blood vessels am I talking about?
Hypophyseal portal.
I'm talking about blood capillaries. So these blood capillaries will connect your brain, that means your hypothalamus, that is the brain part, to the pituitary. So we said, which tissue is hypothalamus mainly made up of?
Nervous tissue.
Nervous.
Nervous tissue.
Nervous tissue. It is connected to both the lobes of the pituitary. What are the two lobes?
Anterior and
Posterior.
This hypothalamus is connected to the anterior lobe of pituitary with the help of special blood vessels. These blood vessels are called as
Hypophyseal portal blood
vessels.
and the hypothalamus is also connected to the posterior lobe, but it is connected to the posterior lobe by the axons of neurons. If you remember the structure of neuron, we had axons.
Yes.
What
Yes,
else did we
ma'am.
have?
Dendrites.
Dendrites.
Is it the dendrites which are going to connect the posterior lobe or axons?
Axons.
Axons.
What is the location of hypothalamus?
Basal
In the basal part of
forebrain.
It originates, let's talk about the origin. It originates from which layer of the embryo?
Ectoderm.
When I talk about structure, it is connected to two lobes of the pituitary. Which two lobes?
Anterior and
posterior.
Yes, hypothalamus is connected to the anterior lobe by blood vessels which are known as
Hypophyseal portal blood vessel.
vessels.
and this hypothalamus is also connected to the posterior lobe with the help of
Axon.
and it is mainly composed of which kind of tissue?
Nervous tissue.
So why is this gland so important? Why is this gland so important? We are studying in detail about this gland, children. Hypothalamus.
Master gland.
Yes, it's a master gland. Why do we call it as master gland?
It controls
Only
the
it
all other
controls
glands.
all functions.
Control the secretions of all other glands.
The entire system. Very good. Chali, let's move on to hormones now. What are hormones?
Internal
Can we start with the
secretion.
chapter? Yes, Peter. Let's
Internal
start.
secretion.
So good. Hypothalamus contains several group of neurosecretory cells known as nuclei which produce hormones. Now in this hypothalamus, if you see this hypothalamus is over here, beta. It contains some special cells. They are neurosecretory cells. Neurosecretory means they will give secretion in the neural part. So we call these cells as what? Neurosecretory cells. Neural part means this part of the nervous system part, and they're going to give secretions over here. So these neurosecretory cells are known as nuclei, and it is these cells which produce hormones. All the cells of hypothalamus do not produce hormones. Make this very clear. All the cells of hypothalamus will not produce hormones. So कौन से वाले cells बेटा hypothalamus के hormones produce करेंगे? There are special cells. थोड़े से, yes, बहुत थोड़ी सी cells हैं hypothalamus में which have the power of secretion. And because वो neural system में है and they are giving secretions, इसलिए we call these cells as neurosecretory cells. And in short, we call them as nuclei. It is only these nuclei in hypothalamus which will produce the hormones. The function of these hormones is to regulate the synthesis and secretion of pituitary hormones. Now, once these hormones are secreted, these hormones were secreted where? Where beta they were secreted?
Into blood.
In the
blood directly.
basically it is secreted in the secreted in the hypothalamus. मतलब hormones का secretion तो brain part में हो रहा है. Who is secreting this? From here they are being secreted by special cells in the hypothalamus which were known as
Neurosecretory cells.
अब बच्चे समझो इसको. Production of hormones is taking place in the hypothalamus cells. Hormones are being produced in the hypothalamus. Which cells are producing?
Neurosecretory cells.
Neurosecretory cells.
But it is so interesting that these hormones, beta, which are being produced by the hypothalamus, are going to control what? They will be controlling the function and synthesis of the pituitary hormones. They will control the function of which hormones? The pituitary hormones. सबसे पहले कौन से हार्मोन secrete हो रहे हैं? Where are the first hormones secreted, beta? In which area?
Hypothalamus.
Hypothalamus. Which cells had produced these hormones?
Neurosecretory cells.
Secretory cells.
अब हार्मोन यहाँ पे प्रोड्यूस हो गए. अब ये वाले हार्मोन्स आगे अपना काम करेंगे. सबसे पहले यहाँ पे प्रोड्यूस हो गए. The hormones are produced in this area. That is the neurosecretory cells of the hypothalamus. Now the hormones जो यहाँ पे प्रोड्यूस हुए, they will go and control the secretion of the next category of hormones, which we call as pituitary hormones. ये तो आपके hypothalamus hormones हो गए. They were produced here. These hypothalamus hormones will go and control the production and secretion of which hormones?
Pituitary hormones.
अच्छा, अब थोड़ा सा पीछे चलते हैं. Look here. The hypothalamus was connected to pituitary. पढ़ा था अभी?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. We had read that your hypothalamus is connected to pituitary दोनों साइड से, anterior and posterior. Anterior side पे बेटा blood vessel से connected था, and posterior side से it was connected by what?
Axons.
So whatever, very good. Whatever hormones were produced in the hypothalamus, they will reach the anterior part of the pituitary with the help of these blood vessels, and they will reach the posterior part of the pituitary with the help of the axons. So basically production of hormones सबसे पहले कहाँ पर start हुआ?
Hypothalamus.
Name the cells which started producing hormones.
Neurosecretory cells.
So from hypothalamus, these hormones will now get transferred. They have to motivate, they have to instigate the pituitary to produce hormones. Hypothalamus is already connected to pituitary. This we had already read that they are already connected to pituitary. So these hormones which are produced in the nuclei will regulate the synthesis and secretion of pituitary hormones. Hormones produced by hypothalamus are of the following types. I hope you've understood कि pituitary को कैसे connect करते हैं. Because your hypothalamus was connected to anterior and posterior, both parts of the pituitary. So they will go from the hypothalamus, reach the pituitary, and they will instigate the pituitary that start synthesizing hormones. So जब hormones pituitary में synthesize होगा, then those hormones are known as which hormones?
Pituitary hormone.
Pituitary hormones. I hope I'm clear. Where did the hormone secretion first start, children?
Hypothalamus.
Hypothalamus.
There were special cells in hypothalamus which produce hormones. What was the name?
Neurosecretory cells.
There was another name of neurosecretory cells.
Nuclei.
Nuclei.
So from the hypothalamus, these hormones have to be shifted to pituitary. Hypothalamus is already connected to the anterior part of pituitary by
Hypophyseal portal blood vessel.
Hypophyseal portal blood vessel.
Portal blood vessel.
is also connected to the posterior part of the pituitary by.
Axons.
Axons.
Very good. So now these hormones will reach the pituitary, they will instigate, they will stimulate the pituitary to produce hormones. So when pituitary starts producing hormones, so these hormones will be known as which hormones?
Pituitary hormone.
Pituitary hormones.
So though the hormones are being produced by pituitary children, but usko control kisne kiya? Who's controlling them? The hormones which are produced by
Hypothalamus.
That is the reason we, very good. That is the reason we call this as master gland. If this will not produce hormones, agar hypothalamus hormones produce nahi karega, they will not reach the pituitary. If they will not reach the pituitary will also not secrete the hormones. So indirectly, if you see, control jo ho raha hai, the entire hormone production, though the hormones are being produced by pituitary, but the entire process is being controlled by the hormones which are produced by hypothalamus. If this is not producing, so automatically these hormones will not be produced. Let's talk about the hormones produced by hypothalamus very quickly. The first are releasing hormones. The first kind of hormones are releasing hormones. These are the hormones that stimulate the secretion of pituitary hormones. Beta, jo sabse pehle I told you, jo sabse pehle hormone secrete hote hain in the hypothalamus. What are these hormones called as?
Releasing hormone.
Releasing hormones. And yehi wale hormones, releasing hormones, then they go to the pituitary and they stimulate the secretion of pituitary hormones. ठीक है बच्चा? सबसे पहले the hormones which are produced here in the hypothalamus, what are they called as?
Releasing hormones.
Hormones. And it is these hormones जो बाद में कहाँ जाएंगे?
Pituitary gland.
Yes. And then
Pituitary
they will stimulate the pituitary that you also start secreting hormones. Let us do an example. There is a releasing hormone. Its name is gonadotropin releasing hormone. In short, we call it as GnRH. What is the full form of GnRH?
Gonadotropin releasing hormone.
Releasing hormone.
बेटा नाम से ही पता चलना चाहिए because ये releasing hormone है. That is why ये कहाँ पे secrete हो रहा होगा? Pituitary और hypothalamus?
Hypothalamus.
Very good, very good. That means your GnRH यहाँ पे produce हुआ hypothalamus. After that, it must have gone where?
Pituitary.
अब हमें ये ध्यान रखना है which part of pituitary does GnRH go to? GnRH goes towards the anterior pituitary. तो किसके थ्रू गया होगा?
Hypophyseal portal vein.
Very good,
portal
very
blood
good.
vessels.
Excellent. So it has reached the pituitary. In the pituitary, it will go and it will stimulate. Okay, stimulate means make them active. Some special cells in the anterior pituitary, the name of the cells is gonadotroph. यहीं से याद कर लीजिए. Just leave IN. IN छोड़ दीजिए gonadotrophin का. And this word gonadotroph. So what is the name of the cells?
Gonadotroph.
So once they become active, they also start releasing hormone. And which hormone are they going to release?
Gonadotropin.
Gonadotropin.
So first of all, there was a release hormone which was secreted by the hypothalamus. What was the name of this hormone we've just done?
Gonadotropin
Hormone.
It will go to which part of the pituitary?
Gonadotroph cells.
Anterior part of the pituitary. So if it is going to anterior part, वो किसके थ्रू गया होगा बेटा?
Hypophyseal portal.
Hypophyseal portal vessel.
So once it reaches the pituitary, it will stimulate some cells in the pituitary. सबको active नहीं करेगा, some special cells. What are these cells known as?
Gonadotroph.
Gonadotroph cells. And in the beginning, हमने क्या पढ़ा था? That the hormones which come from hypothalamus, they will initiate the secretion of hormones in the pituitary. So now pituitary will also start secreting the hormone. What is the name of the hormone?
Gonadotrophin.
Okay, very quickly tell me. GnRH is produced where?
Hypothalamus.
Hypothalamus.
So this GnRH, excellent. This GnRH in the hypothalamus is secreting another kind of a hormone in the pituitary. Name the hormone.
Gonadotrophin.
Excellent. So I hope releasing hormones are clear to everybody.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Releasing hormones are produced where? Pituitary or hypothalamus?
Hypothalamus.
From hypothalamus, they move on to which part?
Pituitary gland.
Pituitary gland.
Either anterior or posterior. We have just done an example of a releasing hormone. What was the name of the hormone?
Gonadotrophin releasing hormone.
Releasing
See, I'm
hormone.
going so slow. I'm going so slow so that you can learn with me side by side. Otherwise, if you try and learn it, it's very boring for you to learn this. So once it travels from here, it will go to the pituitary. Which part of pituitary will GnRH go to? Anterior or posterior?
Anterior.
Because it is going to anterior, it must have gone how?
Hypophyseal portal would have helped.
Hypophyseal portal blood vessel.
So once it reaches the pituitary, it's a new place for it. तो वो सबके साथ interact नहीं करेगा. Only some special cells. What are the cells?
Gonadotroph.
So it will stimulate these cells, gonadotroph cells, and these cells will also start producing a hormone. What is the name of the hormone?
Gonadotrophin.
Excellent, children. Now let's move on to the second kind of hormone that we are going to discuss. The first one was what was the first category of hormones I just discussed?
Releasing hormone.
Releasing hormones. Where are releasing hormones produced? Pituitary or hypothalamus?
Hypothalamus.
Very good, beta ji. चलिए ये देखते हैं. Inhibiting hormones. The second category of hormones that we are going to study is inhibiting hormones. These are the hormones which inhibit the release of pituitary hormones. देखो बेटा, inhibit means रोक देना. The first category of hormones were motivating the pituitary to produce more hormones. But these hormones, they will inhibit the release of pituitary hormones. कम करेंगे release of pituitary hormone. Let us talk about a hormone which is an inhibitory hormone. Its name is somatostatin. Please pronounce it.
Somatostatin.
Yes, the somatostatin. This is also produced here. This is also produced in the hypothalamus, children. इसको भी समझो बहुत ध्यान से. बहुत easy है. Understand. This somatostatin is also produced here. जैसे GnRH produce हुआ था. Here, over here. Similarly, this is also produced. Somatostatin. But this will also travel to the anterior lobe of the pituitary gland. इसका मतलब this must have gone through
Hypophyseal
children. देखो बेटा सब कुछ same है. Somatostatin is also released in hypothalamus. This is also going to the anterior part of the pituitary, but there is one main difference. GnRH was a good hormone. It was helping in the release of gonadotropin, but this is a little naughty hormone. Its name is somatostatin. This will inhibit the secretion of growth hormone. This is like a dushman, enemy. Once it will enter the pituitary, it will inhibit. Pituitary apna normally it is secreting its growth hormone. Growth hormone is being secreted from the anterior lobe of the pituitary gland. Remember, growth hormone is always released from, it is being released from which lobe of the pituitary, anterior or posterior?
Anterior.
And this somatostatin had also gone to which part of the pituitary, anterior or posterior?
Anterior.
So once it reaches there, it will inhibit the secretion. Means उसके secretion को कम करेगा, obstruct करेगा, disturb करेगा the secretion of the growth hormone. So All these hormones originating in the hypothalamic nervous pass through the axons and then are released from the nerve endings. After the work is done, let me discuss this part with you first. Let me revise the two types of hormones which I have done with you, released by hypothalamus. Which was the first one?
Releasing hormones.
Releasing hormones.
Releasing hormones. We have done two types of hormones released by hypothalamus. Releasing hormones and inhibiting hormones. Name the releasing hormone produced by hypothalamus.
Gonadotropin
Releasing hormone.
Name the inhibiting hormone produced in the hypothalamus.
Somatostatin.
Somatostatin.
Somatostatin also goes and attaches itself to which part of the pituitary?
Anterior.
Anterior.
So
Anterior part.
does it promote the production of hormones or it inhibits?
Inhibit.
Yes, it inhibits the production of which hormone, children?
Pituitary
Growth
hormone.
hormone.
Growth hormone.
Growth hormone.
Also which hormone? Growth hormone. And जो पहले वाला था the अच्छा hormone that we had GnRH, it helped in the production of which hormone?
Gonadotropin.
Gonadotropin.
Gonadotropin. So basically, we said these hormones which are originating in the hypothalamic neurons. We have neurons in the brain area. I hope everybody is aware of this. So these hormones, these hormones are produced here, beta. The neurons which are present in the hypothalamus, they are known as hypothalamic neurons. See, beta, brain is a bigger part. Brain may we have this part hypothalamus. Which part of brain was it present?
Forebrain.
Forebrain. Basal part of forebrain.
Neurons. We have neurons in the hypothalamus. These neurons are known as what neurons? Hypothalamic neurons. Okay, name the neurons present in the hypothalamus of the brain.
Hypothalamic
neurons.
Yes. So the hormones were being produced here in the hypothalamic neurons. They pass through the axons and then they are released from their nerve endings. Finally, they reach the pituitary gland. Either they will go to anterior or they will go to posterior through a portal circulatory system. अभी हमने उसका नाम पढ़ा था. What was the name of the system?
Hypophyseal portal blood vessel.
Basically, it contains of blood vessels, but the entire system is known as hypophyseal portal system. So it is controlling the function of the anterior pituitary. If you remember, hypophyseal blood vessels were connecting to anterior or posterior?
Anterior.
Anterior.
Very good. So please listen to this line very carefully. This hypophyseal portal system is regulating the function of the anterior pituitary. It is regulating the function of which pituitary?
Anterior
Pituitary.
And if you remember, we told you that posterior pituitary mein what was connected? Axons. And I just told you that nervous system here we have neurons. What are those neurons known as जो hypothalamus में थे?
Hypothalamic neurons.
So in the posterior part, these hypothalamic neurons directly transfer. जो भी हार्मोन यहाँ पे produce हो रहा है, they are directly transferred to which part of the pituitary? The posterior pituitary.
Anterior.
Because it is the posterior pituitary part is directly connected to the hypothalamus with the help of the axons. Is it okay for everybody? देखो बच्चे ध्यान से देखो. Let's do this. This is your pituitary and its relationship with hypothalamus. Let's understand. Can you see your hypothalamus over here? This पूरा part ऊपर ये वाला. This is your hypothalamus. Can you see everybody? This is hypothalamus.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you see the neurons in the hypothalamus?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
These are the neurons in the hypothalamus area. So that is why they are known as which neurons?
Hypothalamic neurons.
Good, very good. अब थोड़ा सा नीचे चलते हैं. See, this is your anterior pituitary. This is your posterior pituitary. अब ठीक से देखो बेटा, carefully देखो. Look at this hypothalamic neuron. ये यहाँ से start हो रहा है from the hypothalamus. It is going down, directly reaching which part of the pituitary?
Posterior.
Posterior.
Very good. Posterior pituitary. So posterior part of pituitary to directly connected ho gaya to the hypothalamus region with the help of what? With the help of these neurons. What are these neurons called as?
Hypothalamic
neurons.
Neurons.
But beta इस वाले को देखो, ये वाला जो है, is it directly reaching the anterior pituitary?
No, ma'am.
No,
It
ma'am.
is not reaching. No. So if you see, we have this system, ये जो बीच में थोड़ा सा बना है, this system. ये है आपका hypophyseal portal system. What is the system called as? Hypophyseal portal system. So the hormones which are produced here will first come to this system, that is your hypophyseal portal system, जिसमें आपकी blood vessels थी, अभी हमने पढ़ा था. These vessels were known as
Hypophyseal portal blood vessel.
Hypophyseal blood vessels.
and then from this, through this system, they will reach your anterior pituitary. If you see these dots, these are your hormones. Chaliye, let us very quickly review this. What is this entire area? ये ऊपर वाला, what is this? Which part?
Hypothalamus.
Hypothalamus.
And let's go down to the, we know that the hypothalamus is connected to the pituitary. So this is your anterior pituitary, this is your
Posterior.
Posterior pituitary.
So, chaliye. Now let us see this neuron. It is starting from which? This is a hypothalamic neuron. Both of them are hypothalamic neurons because dono ke dono they are present in the hypothalamus area. So we call them as hypothalamic neurons. Chaliye beta dekhiye jaldi se. It's starting from the hypothalamus. It is going from here to here to here. Where is it reaching? Which part of the pituitary?
Posterior part.
Posterior pituitary.
So we don't need any transport system over here because जो भी hormones यहाँ पे produce होंगे बेटा hypothalamus area में, वो directly through the axon यहाँ से ऐसे ऐसे. Can you see these dots? These are all. Can you see this?
Yes,
यहाँ
ma'am.
से they are coming from
Yes,
here to
ma'am.
here, and they will directly
ma'am.
reach which part of your pituitary?
Posterior.
Posterior.
But let's talk about this neuron now. This is not reaching directly the anterior pituitary. बीच में we have a portal system. ये वाला जो दिख रहा होगा. What is the name of the portal system?
Hypophyseal.
Hypophyseal blood vessels.
Okay. Now let me hide this for a second. Let me ask you some questions. Chalo. Which part of the pituitary is directly connected to the hypothalamic neurons?
Posterior.
Posterior pituitary.
Posterior.
If you'll attend the classes, you'll be able to see and understand. Posterior. Learn करोगे बहुत मुश्किल आएगा. The anterior part of the pituitary is indirectly connected to the hypothalamus with the help of a portal system. Name the portal system.
Hypophyseal portal.
Hypophyseal portal system.
Yes, it is known as the very, very good. And the hormones which are released in the hypothalamus, what are they called?
Releasing hormone.
Releasing hormones.
Releasing hormones.
Name a releasing hormone which actually helps in releasing. Why will you call releasing hormone? Because they help in releasing hormones in pituitary. So we call them as releasing hormone. So give me an example of a releasing hormone secreted by hypothalamus.
Gonadotropin
Gonadotropin.
releasing hormone.
Gonadotropic. Okay, this will go to which part of the pituitary?
Anterior part.
Anterior.
अगर ये anterior जा रहा है तो directly axon के through जा रहा होगा या portal system के through जाएगा?
Hypophyseal portal.
Very good. So portal system के through it will reach the anterior part of the pituitary. Then it will motivate or stimulate some cells. What is the name of the cells?
Gonadotropin.
Gonadotropin cells.
And then they will start releasing a hormone. That is why they're not releasing. What is the hormone they'll release?
Gonadotropin.
Gonadotropin.
There is another category of hormone जो produce तो यहीं पे होगा hypothalamus में, and it will also go to pituitary, but it will not release. It will stop or inhibit. What was the name of the hormone?
Inhibiting hormone.
Inhibiting hormone.
I gave you an example of an inhibiting hormone. What was the name?
Somatostatin.
Hormones.
Very good. This will go to which part of the pituitary, anterior or posterior?
Anterior.
Anterior.
That means ये directly जा रहा है या it will go through the portal system?
Portal system.
Okay, Okay, very good. चलिए आगे चलते हैं. Let's move on further. Posterior, which part of pituitary is under the direct regulation of hypothalamus?
Posterior.
Posterior.
Very good, very good. See this, which pituitary functions under the direct regulation of hypothalamus?
Posterior.
Posterior pituitary.
Very good. What was this, children? ये ऊपर वाला part, ये पूरा बड़ा वाला. Where you can see
Hypothalamus.
the-
Hypothalamus.
What are the neurons present in hypothalamus called as?
Hypothalamic neurons.
Hypothalamic neurons.
Hypothalamic neurons extend to one part directly of the pituitary. Which part is it?
Posterior pituitary.
Posterior
pituitary.
And the other hypothalamic neurons cannot directly reach the anterior pituitary. They need a circulatory or a portal system. What is the name of the portal system?
Hypophyseal
portal
system.
Facial portal
Very
system.
good. Very good. Tomorrow I'll be starting with the pituitary gland. First, let me revise very quickly what I have done till now. What I did today and what we did yesterday. Let us revise everything very quickly, because even if I start pituitary, I'll not be able to finish pituitary. And फिर बीच में सब गड़बड़ हो जाएगा. So let's start revising this very quickly. Endocrine system in human consists of endocrine glands and hormones. So whenever I talk about endocrine system, I'm going to talk about endocrine glands and hormones. How many kinds of endocrine glands did we discuss yesterday?
Two.
Okay, which is the first category? Let me write it.
Pure endocrine glands.
Pure endocrine glands.
Pure endocrine
Why are
gland
they
and
called
partial
pure
endocrine.
Yes, why are they called pure endocrine? Because they're entirely involved only in one function. And what was the function?
Secretion of hormones.
Secretion of hormones.
Hormones.
And when we did the hormone, we did these glands, we divided the human body into three parts. We cut it from here and we had cut from here. So in the head, we had three. What were the three glands?
Hypothalamus, pineal, and
Hypothalamus, pineal
pituitary.
gland,
Thalamus, pineal,
pituitary.
pituitary.
Very good. देखो hypothalamus and pituitary यहाँ पे कितना पास लग रहा है देखने में. But it is that we have a proper portal system also in the middle if you've just studied about it. Okay. Now we'll come to the third part over here. We had more over here. ऊपर वाले part में throat we had what glands?
Thyroid,
Thyroid,
Parathyroid.
Let's go down to the lower part. What gland was this?
Thymus
gland.
gland.
Thymus
Then in the
gland.
center of the body again we had two.
Pancreas
Pancreas
and
and
adrenal.
adrenal gland.
Okay, let's talk about the sex glands. In females it is.
Ovaries.
Ovaries.
And in males it is.
Testes.
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 Then we talked about partial endocrine glands. I told you about endo yesterday. Give me two examples of exocrine glands, pure exocrine glands.
Library glands and mammary glands.
Salivary gland.
Very
Mammary
good,
gland.
remember. Which is the gland basically which going to control the entire endocrine system of yours?
Hypothalamus.
Hypothalamus.
What is its location? Which part of the brain?
Basal part of
forebrain.
forebrain.
It develops from which layer of the embryo? Let me hide it for you.
Ectoderm.
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 Let me hide, then I'll ask. Yes, it arises from the ectoderm. Let us talk about the structure. It is made up of which tissues?
Nervous.
Nervous tissue.
Tissues.
Very good. It connects with the anterior lobe of the pituitary by
Hypophyseal portal.
Hypophyseal portal system.
and the posterior lobe of the pituitary by.
Axon.
Very good. Name the releasing hormone secreted in the hypothalamus.
Gonadotropin releasing hormone.
Inhibiting hormone. Name the inhibiting hormone secreted by the
Somatostatin.
Somatostatin.
Somatostatin.